County Supervisors on this January 10th at 9 o'clock a.m. You guys have any conflict of interest on anything on the agenda today? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Had a chance to look over the minutes from January 3rd. Any corrections or deletions from that? No? I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion.
Motion by Bryce.
Second.
Second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, at this time, do I have a motion to recess our regular meeting for a hearing on stream ordinance number 2023-1?
Motion.
Motion by Charlie.
Second.
Second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, I'm going to ask Darren Hickey to come up front here. And Darren was working on this before he got off the board, before he left the board. And would you talk about this ordinance and why it's brought before us today?
Yeah, just a quick overview. I mean, this stream mitigation over in Erling, it's basically just like carbon credits. We put a lot of manpower into improving a stream over there, and what happens is we get credits from the Corps to sell to people that are going to harm streams during construction. Perfect example of that right now is the DOT. They have to buy these credits a lot because they're going to improve roads and they have to go through streams. We finally, after 4 years, got into the process where we've got credits that we can sell. We had a situation with the DOT where we won the bid, and a private entity that is going around the state and creating these stream mitigations himself so he can make money, sent us legal letters saying that we could not compete with a private entity. And there's two issues to this. One, we cannot compete with it. The DOT says that they cannot compete with, give the contract to a government entity. This ordinance that we're trying to pass here now is if we were to try and sell credits to a private entity. So, and we are looking at a private entity that is going to need credits here. It's Iowa Waste over close to Glenwood. Nick is probably better versed on this than I am. He's been doing a lot of work on this. But anyway, we had a discussion with Mike Heller. He's the one that helped us throughout this. He was the engineer, and he told us some things that we need to do, and this is one of them that we need to get done as soon as possible. It has gone to the Attorney General and been approved that, you know, this doesn't really even apply to this, but what they're talking about is state code 23A, which says a state agency or political subdivision shall not, unless specifically authorized by a statute, rule, or ordinance or regulation, be able to compete with a private entity. So this ordinance, it's been, like I say, been ruled on by the Attorney General through Coralville, through other
Subdivision.
yeah. It's been taken, I mean, it's just been ruled on. So Marcus, you can help me on this.
Yeah, basically, in order to compete with private enterprise, you have to pass an ordinance that says you can compete, and then you're in compliance with the code.
Okay.
That's really the gist of it. And then there are two issues with regard to the stream mitigation. There's this issue, and then there's also the issue of the DOT rules, which don't allow the DOT to accept bids from a government entity. That's a whole different story. But this will at least allow us to compete with private entities with regard to selling the stream mitigation or the credits to private enterprises.
Okay. And you've been involved with this with Darren?
Yeah,
drawing up
I drafted the
ordinance. Okay.
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 And this, you got this from Polk County, didn't you?
I took one from Polk County and
And the other thing that I wanted to point out here is that we're not trying to encompass the whole county as far as being able to compete with.
This only
This is-
applies to stream mitigation
Exactly.
credits. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I don't know, Nick, did you have anything else you wanted to?
Well, it's kind of a statewide issue.
Are you finished?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, then why don't you have Nick come
okay,
up here?
yeah, I will do that.
Okay. Thank you, Darren.
You bet.
This is
Morning, Nick.
Morning. This is a statewide issue, and it's something that needs to get resolved. And so this is just one step towards doing that. We have our annual meeting for all the conservation boards get together, the 24th to 26th in Coralville. We're going to have a meeting on the 24th with some other conservation boards that are running into the same issue. There's going to be legal counsel there from the DOT, I believe, and the Corps of Engineers, so we can get to an agreement. The DOT can actually sell credits to us if we were the only bank in the area, but when they redistrict everything in this whole area, it kind of encompasses private bank. It wasn't like that to begin with. But there are some instances where they can just enter into a 2080 agreement with you to sell you the credits if needed. And I think we're probably in the clear either way, but it's just the threat of anything that can complicate their projects with the DOT that kind of hangs things up. So they're going to try to do some administrative rule changes on their end, change some of the language in their administrative rules, because they have a lot of them that have to do with bid letting and things like that they're going to do some change. They're going to do some administrative changes, but that's going to take them a while to do that. So
Eventually this will get cleared up at the
it'll
state
get cleared
level.
up. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Either way,
Kind of
both ways. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
so this will just kind of help move things along.
This is
Okay.
just part of the steps.
Yep. Yep,
So,
okay.
all right. Thanks for your consideration.
At this time, does anybody else want to address pro or against the ordinance we have before us today with the stream mitigation? If you please do, just please come forward here. You three guys have anything else to add?
No.
Okay, so are all three in favor, we move forward with this? Take it?
Absolutely, it's necessary.
Okay, last call, anybody else want to come forward? Okay. You guys have anything to say or questions for the guys?
Nope, I understand it all.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close the hearing?
Motion.
Motion by Bryce, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Consideration approval of the stream ordinance number 2023-1. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye. Well, I'm gonna back up. And since we didn't have any opposition or anything against, any questions about that, part of the motion would also be to suspend the second and third hearing. Okay? With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thanks everybody who participated in that today. Next on the agenda, I need a motion again to go back into recess the regular meeting and have a public hearing on EMS, pursuing that as an essential service and naming a commission to recommend funding and other advancements for countywide EMS system. Do I have a motion to recess the regular meeting?
Make that motion.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, a couple things for this. First, I'm going to have Alex Londo or Jordan, whichever, come forward, explain why this has been brought to our board, and then we'll open it up for comment from the public. And when we do open up for public comment, for or against, we're going to limit that to 3 minutes, and you'll come up at the chair, state your name, and then address the board, okay? Good morning, Alex.
Morning.
Alex?
So just brief history on everything. We've got this ad hoc committee put together. It's made up of different departments and cities throughout the county, looking at the need of EMS and
And that started about when?
started probably spring of last year.
About April.
Yeah, about April, I believe. So currently we have a private contractor that the ambulance commission in the county has that provides 24/7 support for ambulance and services throughout the county. There's talk that they want to retire, and it could leave us with no contractor, nobody to provide other than the volunteers. So the state last year, I believe it was last year, put together a code section that allows counties to vote and make EMS an essential service. So basically you get taxed for it like you do sheriffs and or law enforcement and fire. And for us to sustain EMS and keep the coverage that we have now, it'll need to be tax funded to go that route. So that's what this committee's been working on, is trying to figure out a plan, operational plan, and how we need to move forward to best serve the people in the county. And then,
I would just add, from what I know about it, this isn't new in the state of Iowa.
no, there was, I believe last election cycle, there was 5 counties that passed it as an essential service, and they have varying different models, whether they give the money to the volunteers or they have their own service or however that works. It's kind of up to the counties to decide what works best for them. So that's the reason for the meeting today, is to figure out the Board of Supervisors has to designate an advisory council that looks at EMS as a whole for the county, kind of like this ad hoc committee has been doing, and it's more formalized, and they've come with a funding recommendation to you guys for what the tax needs to be to fund it appropriately.
Okay. Anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Jordan, yeah, we'll have you come up next, and then we can start the public comment. I know you've been very involved with the volunteers, and if you could address some of their concerns and what you're seeing out there, why we need to take this avenue.
So I've been working hand in hand with volunteers now for 2.5 years. Volunteerism is down. It's down nationwide. It's down in Shelby County. It's down in Iowa. We have several volunteer departments. We have several ambulances in our county. The problem that we're running into is our volunteers are down, and the volunteers that we have, a lot of them either don't work in Shelby County or they have jobs where they can't leave. You know, a farmer in the middle of planting isn't going to be able to get out of the field in a timely manner to assist someone that may be having a heart attack or that fell. You know, we've been fortunate enough to have our private contract in our county. We've kind of been a
Kind of taking that for granted,
Oh,
and the volunteers.
we've taken both that
Yeah.
and the volunteers for granted. We've been a staple kind of model in the state of having a decent response time in rural Iowa. Thanks mostly in part to having that contract where if the volunteers are unavailable, we always have someone coming. It's critical to have EMS. It's critical to have doctors and nurses. If you can't get to the hospital, the doctors and nurses don't do you any good. I can speak on the fact that, you know, I once had a pretty significant injury in rural South Dakota, and it took 40 minutes for me to get an ambulance. It's not fun. And 40 minutes seems like 4.5 hours. So anything that we can do to speed up response times, to assist the volunteers, we need to brainstorm as much as possible to make that a smooth transition and make sure that people are getting the help that they need in a timely manner.
Very true. Otherwise, it's just going to get longer and longer.
I mean, there was an article on the front page of the paper today on the EMS conference that's coming up, and also some statistics on EMS in Shelby County. One of them is that we have roughly 47 EMS providers in Shelby County, including medevac, so paid and volunteer. We have roughly 11,600 residents. The average age of a first responder is 51 years of age, and we have roughly one responder per every 236 residents of our county. I don't know what the state or national average is, but in my opinion, that's critical,
Yeah. Okay,
so,
okay, appreciate your work on that.
thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
So at this time, anybody from the public who'd like to address the board, please come up here and state your name, and you got 3 minutes. So I'll open it up to anybody.
Well, I'll just make a few comments. My name's Barry Jacobson. With the hospital, I've been on the ad hoc committee since the very beginning. I think Alex and Jordan have done a really good job in explaining kind of what we've gone through over the last, I guess, 9 or 10 months with the ad hoc committee. Ambulance services in Shelby County should be an essential service. If you call 911, I think you should have a reasonable expectation that an ambulance is going to show up. Should be a right. Right now it's not, because we're not considered an essential service in Shelby County. And the only reason that an ambulance has shown up historically is because we have a robust volunteer system in Shelby County, along with an ambulance commission that makes sure that there's a centralized ambulance service through Medevac. And that commission consists of the hospital, the city, the hospital, the city, and the county. So I think, you know, a question might be is why are we talking about this now? Of course, Medevac is wanting to retire, but we've also seen a significant increase in the cost over the years, over the last 3-4 years in the healthcare industry with a shortage of healthcare workers. We're seeing it at the hospital level, and it's also true with EMTs and paramedics. So, you know, so those compensation packages that have been used in the past really aren't going to work moving forward. So the cost has definitely gone up. You know, there is the ability to bill insurance companies as an ambulance provider, but that reimbursement in a county like Shelby, where you have about 1,300 runs a year, it doesn't generate enough revenue to cover the cost of 24/7 availability of ambulance service. So the tax funding mechanisms of the past really don't generate enough revenue to cover that shortfall. You know, we have looked at a lot of different options, whether it be the hospital that runs it, the county, a private entity. We've looked at a private entity as well through this ad hoc committee, and they're all going to cost probably close to the same amount. So I guess from the hospital's perspective, we fully support the resolution to make ambulance services essential in Shelby County.
Okay. I will add too, when you talk to people in the general public, almost all of them assume it is an essential service now. When they call 911, they expect the ambulance to be there, and the way the trajectory is going, if we don't get on top of this and change things, you're going to be waiting for an ambulance to come out of the city. There's a county west of us, that's what they're doing now, and I don't know. That's why we're looking at making this essential service, be put to a vote in November, where people can decide if this is the direction they want to go, and that's why I appreciate you coming in and educating the people of why we're looking to go that way. So, thank you.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
Morning, Roger.
Good morning. Roger Beeson, Harlan Fire. I too want to support this resolution to make EMS essential service in Shelby County. I'm going to go back 30 plus years of me being in the fire service, and we've always had a funding stream for fire, but we've never had anything that provides funding for EMS throughout the county. And so it makes it very difficult.
Thanks to the volunteers.
Yes, it makes it very difficult to be able to keep the ambulances going and keep the funding stream going to buy your supplies. This is a problem in Shelby County, it's a problem statewide and nationwide, that having EMS as an essential service. I go through a lot of conferences throughout the state and the nation, and this is a problem throughout our whole country. And we need to get on top of this and continue to make EMS an essential service. It's the right move.
And then the state has acknowledged that with their providing some funding and that for that here just a couple of years ago.
Yes.
So Alex had said, so.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Morning, Tim.
Morning, guys. I'm Tim Plum with the Irwin Fire and Rescue. Been a volunteer for 25 years. I think this is essential for Shelby County. I think it's something we need to do, especially with the deteriorating number of volunteers that we have in the county. And I think we need to continue providing the services that we do for the people of Shelby County. So, we're in favor for it.
Okay. You feel that pretty consensus out there with the volunteer base?
Yeah. Yeah, there's getting people to volunteer anymore is just hard, and especially with as an EMT, the class time and stuff, and the continuing ed hours that you gotta have.
Gotcha.
So,
You say you had multiple EMTs at one time, now you're down to 4?
we had 18 when I started back 25 years ago, and now we're down to 4 people.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
So
it's huge.
they were a mixture of volunteer or EMTs and first responders. But,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I think it's something we need to do.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'm gonna slip right up here real quick. Good morning, Gene Getty, City Administrator, City of Harlan.
Gene.
And I won't restate, but I certainly will support all the previous comments. I think the two critical items I would like to bring attention to is that from the previous comments, and if you've reviewed and read up on this topic, is that the game and the playing field has changed. And I commend the county and this board for being willing to accept that the times are changing, and thus it's critical that we evaluate that with something such as deeming this an essential service. And the second is that with setting up an advisory council, which is the primary item in front of you today, is that between now and November, there's a tremendous amount of education that needs to take place. And it's been alluded to today that I think it's most common that people just expect it. Yet there's not a funding stream to meet that expectation. So to close that gap between what the expectation is and what's being able to be delivered in, is the game is changing, that's where we need to close the gap of education. So definitely support this, and continuation. I think the future, I think we all see the future as a continued hybrid model between a strong volunteer network and a reliable, cost-effective professional or career service. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gene.
Jenny, come on up here. Good morning.
You know, Barry was here, cut mine short, which is good. Jenny Lefebvre, ER manager. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the need to maintain our level of ability to transfer patients out. Currently in Shelby County, we're very lucky to have that private service where they can come almost immediately to get those patients who need
That's a good point.
tertiary care. Many counties, I do trauma surveys throughout the state, many counties wait hours to get patients transferred. Critically ill patients, they wait hours. And we do not have to do that here in Shelby County. When we have a transfer, the majority of the time, they're able to get a crew immediately to us to get them to where they need to go, no matter where we send them. So that's one key thing I wanted to bring up, is that we need to maintain that high level of transferability.
And that would be part of these EMS?
That would be part of this,
Yep, very,
this service.
very good. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Janice, good morning.
Hi, Jen.
Good morning.
I'm Janice Gall, Mayor of Erling, and I know the city of Erling, we well support the unity of going in this with the county base. So we are in full support of the resolution. So it needs help. So the small fire departments, they can't do it on their own. So I think being unified will greatly help our mission.
Okay.
What I need to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Morning, Neil.
Morning, guys. Sheriff Neil Groves. I've been on the ad hoc committee as well since spring. We've been doing a lot of work, a lot of conversation, continued conversation, meeting multiple times a month. Some subcommittees, we're trying to pencil this thing together, but in order to continue to pencil this thing together for what everybody here has said as a major issue, I think we need to move forward with this resolution. And I support it from the very beginning, and I think it's something we need to have out there just as well as law enforcement. EMS needs to be right there with it.
Yeah.
So I support this moving forward as well, and hope you guys go ahead and move forward with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Anybody else? I'll also say, even though Alex alluded to last election, 5 counties had voted in favor of EMS essential service. There's also been some counties that have been proactive for decades. Sac County, Carroll County are 2 that are close to us. They've had EMS essential service, which was a priority for them. They didn't have to do, and they did 50 years ago. And it's been funded all through the county for that long, and so, and it's working very well. We've had those people come in, the ad hoc committee has, and spoke to them, asked a lot of good questions, and try not to reinvent the wheel too much. So, anybody else? Okay.
I might just have one question, Steve. Had you guys released any information about how this would affect a person's individual taxes?
No, because that's what the advisory committee will do.
Okay.
They'll look at it, put a budget together, come back with the state has it in the code. You can only use property taxes up to a certain amount and income surtax up to a certain amount to fund this. And so they'll put that together, the advisory committee, if it's approved today. And then they'll look at that and bring it back to the board. They're going to be, like the title says, our advisory. Okay, thanks for the question. Anybody else? Okay, then the second part of this, because again, this ordinance is, again, the intent to pursue emergency medical service as an essential service in Shelby County and appointing a Shelby County EMS advisory council to the supervisors. And the recommendation that has come from the ad hoc committee and the people that have been closest to the shareholders in this is as follows. The EMA chair, which now is Neil Gross, or his designee, would be 1 member on. There's going to be 7 members on this committee. The second one would be a mayor or council member from a community with a voluntary ambulance. And at this time, that we recommend, this recommended to be Janice Gall from Erling, and it would be a 4-year term. Mayor or council member of a community with a paid ambulance service, such as coming from Shelby or Elkhorn, and the suggestion there was either Ron Kroll or Karen Sluster. Do you have a preference there, Ron?
Do not, no.
Why don't you and Karen visit about it and get back to me, and then we'll go from there, okay? But it'd be one of the 2 of you, and that would also be a 4-year term. The 4th one would be an EMS volunteer, and Tim Bloom, volunteer who spoke earlier, would be on that, and he'd be a 4-year term also. Hospital administrator, which would be Barry Jacobson or his designee. Board of Supervisors, Bryce agreed to be on that from our board, and city administrator from Harlan would be Gene Geddes or his designee. So I'm asking anybody out there, is anybody doesn't like that, has another idea? Now's the time to speak, or changed your mind and not willing to be on it. A lot of the people that are be part of this committee are here today. So, everybody good?
Okay. Is there a possibility on that to put maybe like 2 or 3 advisory member positions at some point, or just, you know, if we need input from outside?
You can invite anybody in, you know, they just don't have a vote.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, you can invite anybody in you want.
Perfect, yep.
Okay, guys have any questions on anything?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. I thank everybody for your participation today. It's very good in educating the public and why this has come before the board today. So I appreciate that very much. And I do appreciate, I've been in on quite a few of the meetings, not all of them, but you all have put a lot of time into this, and I can say your heart's in the right place. You want to do what's best for Shelby County in the most efficient way and be able to sustain it. So I appreciate that. And there'll be more public hearings down the road as we get going, if this is approved here today. Okay?
The resolution itself that Marcus crafted, section 2, I think it'd be important for at least for the cameras to be read. Should I read that?
Go ahead.
For you?
Yep. Why don't you just read the 3 bullet points?
Okay. The board intends to pursue classification of emergency medical service as defined by Iowa law as an essential service pursuant to Chapter 422D of the Code of Iowa. Shelby County Board of Supervisors shall coordinate efforts with the local emergency medical services agencies to establish a Shelby County EMS System Advisory Council, whose purpose is to assess and review the emergency medical services needs of the county and provide guidance, research, and direction of a county-wide EMS system. Once established, the county shall recommend to the Shelby County Board of Supervisors an amount of funding to be specified on the ballot. If one or more of the taxes are approved at the election, the council shall annually assess and review the emergency medical services needs of the county and shall include the results of such review and assessment in an annual report filed with the Shelby County Board of Supervisors. And the third bullet point is just the members that were previously mentioned.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close the hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Now, in front of the board is consideration to approve the resolution 2023-1 EMS S1. Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Motion by Bryce, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thanks, everybody. If you need to leave, you're welcome to leave, and we got a couple other things on the agenda to go through. So, thank you. Next on the agenda, supervisor discuss consideration of a waiver for common law firm representation between the county and the city of Harlan. Discussions of a waiver letter consent before us. Neil, would you mind addressing this?
Yes, I can make a few comments on that. Real simple with that is we contract as a county as well as the sheriff's office with Ehlers and Cooney's office for legal advice and counsel and things like that.
HR.
With HR. And the city does that as well, the city of Harlan. Recently, the city of Harlan, as well as the county, have been in conversation, wanting to have conversation, just about things that involve law enforcement, routine. There's a common issue right now in this world, and it is hiring of law enforcement. Well, in order for us to have even some sort of discussion, there has to be a waiver signed that our legal counsel and our HR departments can help us in some conversations. We have Mike Galloway, who represents us. They have an individual, Ann Schmezek, with the city. They work in the same office, but this is a waiver just saying that we believe that both those will look out for the best interests for the county as well as the city and conversations to pursue.
Yep.
And that's the meat and potatoes of that. So.
I had talked to Mike too and asked if he's seen any conflict with it.
Yeah.
Or if it's not a good idea. And he
Yeah.
said, no, we do it all the time.
Yeah, it's a waiver for liability for those two in that same office as well as us and the city. So.
Okay.
Yep. I don't see any issues with it, but
okay.
we had to get it passed by you guys. So.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Gene, do you have anything you want to add?
I would just echo what Sheriff Gross mentioned, and the city council had this in front of them at their last meeting as well, as both entities need to agree to that conflict waiver. And in a situation like this, it actually could be to each entity's benefit.
That's why I look at it.
Because this isn't, if you will, say, some adversarial or highly controversial. It's really can be good representation and knowledge of both operations. And the most immediate need, as Sheriff alluded to, is assistance with, due to some shortage of staff. It's a common problem. We were just talking about that with EMS, right? So, and we've had great partnership and working relationship with the Sheriff's Office, and it just seemed natural to, in this immediate term, how that assistance could be more formalized, so.
Okay, thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
Marcus, do you have anything to add or any concerns or?
No, I think it actually would be a benefit to both entities to not have to reinvent the wheel with council, and so I think this is a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Questions, anybody?
None.
Have a motion to approve the waiver for between city and county for haulers.
Motion.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next on the agenda, we got supervisor discussion, budget, pipeline, general county business. I'll let you go first.
I didn't get far enough on the budget to even
We'll just give a little update.
present anything, and I'll let you guys know as soon as I get, I've messed with the max levy thing, but I have to get the initial budget of the Department of Management completely filled in. There is some, yeah.
So we're close.
It gets complicated.
So we're getting close.
Yeah, I should have it by next Tuesday.
Okay. And then I know we're going to vote on it at the next meeting, but about when is the max levy? What date do you have for that? I'm just curious, like how far out is that?
If I could get it to the newspaper in time to get published, we could do it the first meeting in February.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, it'd be the second, or we could have a special meeting, or...
You look getting close to the budget this week?
I don't know.
Okay.
Depends on my...
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
There's just, yeah. There's 3-hour segments where I'm pulled away, then I have to look and see where I was at after I was pulled
The
away.
budget process went very well this year. People were very prepared. We put a limit on where we tried to get budgets under 5.5%, and people were very
Juvenile
good
got
about
us their
that.
numbers, EMA got us their numbers. I mean, the ones that always take time, and the supervisors have cooperated too, and being at the meetings and being able to get this done in a hurry. Not in a hurry, I shouldn't say that. Efficiently is the best word.
In a timely manner.
Yep.
Okay. Before I start, you guys have any committee meetings or anything you need to report on, or?
Been pretty dormant.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give some updates on the pipeline. I visited with Tim Whipple, our legal counsel, over the weekend, and here's are the things I'm going to update you on. As you well know, our county is Story County. Got a lawsuit filed on us about the same time. Story County was a couple days ahead of us. Last week, Story County was issued a schedule for their lawsuit, which would be this coming December. Okay, and it will be a bench trial, which is just in front of a judge. So they're expecting our schedule to be about the same time. It'll probably be announced here in the next week or two, because we're only a few days apart. And Allers and Cooney is representing us through the insurance company, is covering the cost, all but our deductible. Same as Story County, they have ICAP insurance too. So, gonna kind of follow probably about the same timeline. Once the scheduling order is issued on the lawsuit, legal counsel will schedule a meeting with our Board of Supervisors to update us on the order and the process moving forward. Okay? IUB update. Legal counsel is waiting on a docket schedule for permit hearing and preemption proceedings. I went to an IUB meeting, I think it was the 13th of December, Friday. There from 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock. And the arguments were all on, part of it was scheduling and getting the pipeline companies to submit their safety information, and IUB is asking for what are the dangers of the pipeline, and they're arguing that. So that's where that's at. IUB is supposed to be issuing a ruling on that, scheduling and the preemption on the safety, if they're going to continue to require that or if they're going to back away. So I'm just telling you what I know. Since a meeting or so ago, we signed a joint representation, a consent and waiver with other counties with IUB proceedings. Our last meeting on the December 20th, Cassuth County entered in to be a share agreement on any costs and representation. They're also going to use dollars for the IUB hearings, intervention. Now, 2 other counties have also joined the agreement, are going to be joining the agreement, I should say. Emmett and Floyd, with others showing interest to help reduce the costs. Okay, so that's good. A lot more counties are getting involved. Okay. Then I've been asked to remind everyone, our hazardous liquid pipeline ordinance has been in effect since November 11th. And despite the lawsuit, it remains in effect until the courts say otherwise. It's in effect today. With that said, I want to restate section 832 of our zoning ordinance, which requires a conditional use permit for property owners and pipeline companies. So section 8.32, a property owner or pipeline company that intends to negotiate or sell an easement to a pipeline company by the means of an independent agreement shall submit an application to the county zoning administrator for a conditional use permit before executing an independent agreement with the pipeline company. If a property owner executes an independent agreement with a pipeline company on or after the effective date of this article, which was November 11th, without obtaining a conditional use permit, the county may exercise all lawful remedies as provided in section 22.11 of its zoning regulation. So just want to remind everybody that is in effect. Okay. Last thing I wanted to talk about, and it's not related to the pipeline, is before Darren got off the board, he brought up about maybe going to a 5-member board. A little research, the county voted on a 5-member board on November 5th of 2002. They got 26% approval, of course 67% disapproval. So it has been voted on before, but again, that's over 20 years ago. I have only received a dozen or so comments for or against, and it's about 50-50. People have their different, so I'm just reporting that. Okay, I don't know if you guys have heard much, but it's been pretty quiet. And I encourage people still to continue to let us know. And Mark, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but when does the board have to know? Because this has to be done at a general election, I'm told, correct? Yes. To vote on this. So what would be the drop dead date we would have to decide if we want to put it on?
It'd be about like the EMS, probably the 1st September. Give us plenty of time.
So,
and not being up against the wall of deadlines that are in the first.
But that would be
weeks.
2 years from now, correct? This is a
I
general
believe
election.
it's countywide. We could do it this fall. I really do.
Oh, you could put it in with the school one?
Because it's countywide.
Would you check on that?
Yeah.
And then, what would it cost? And is there a lot of, do we have to do hearings, or what's the process?
Probably have to do some hearings.
I can't tell you.
Okay.
I could look it up.
Do you know anything
I
about
knew a
that?
week ago, and I looked at it once, and then I dropped it.
Okay.
It's been a few weeks since I've looked at that.
Okay.
I don't.
We don't have to know today. I was
I'm
just
sure there are
wondering.
some hearings that are required before you. Anything that goes on the ballot, you have to have some hearings on. So I'm sure there was a process.
Okay.
I don't recall.
You get all the requests and you look things up and then it goes away and you,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. Then maybe when you do look that up, just give me give us a little bit of cost estimate.
Oh, cost is negligible,
Okay.
except we just have to.
Because it's not a special, there'd be something else on there.
Yeah, we'd pay a percentage. The way Shelby County charges is how many voters you have.
Okay.
So we would pay, it would help out the schools and the cities if it's allowed on this falls.
Okay.
Because we would be paying a share of that ballot also.
Okay, so that's really a mute issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And if it was at a general election, we'd be paying for all of it, so.
Okay. Anything else? Guys have? Okay.
Barry Duell brought up the Christmas lights are getting in kind of ratty shape. He was wondering if there's any funding to replace some of those.
The Christmas lights?
Yeah.
No, they, the hotel motel tax committee, and there's a meeting this afternoon at 1 o'clock, has, since I've been in office, had purchased
Okay.
the largest share of those.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have,
About that
the
today.
county doesn't have like a fund for that.
Okay.
That's been taken care of by that and private.
Okay.
In the past, before I was here, there was money spent out of capital for those.
Okay.
There
If
was.
we did that here, we have to provide for every city and
That gets to be the problem. yeah.
Sure. Well, we'll talk about it today at the hotel motel.
Okay.
And as they grow in number, the county does pay for more outlets every year on the
Right.
courthouse.
Yeah.
The installation of more outlets, so we do contribute
Oh, okay.
Okay.
in that way.
Sure.
Okay, moving on to the last business, consideration of setting max levy hearing.
Yeah, that's, not ready.
Not ready? Okay.
Yep, I just put it on there in case I could get it done.
Okay. And then, just a reminder, Mark, it's a 2080 agreement for updating the Shelby County Ambulance Commission, 2080, make sure that's on the next agenda, the 17th.
Okay.
Let's see if I have anything else here. Nope, you guys have anything else?
No.
Anybody from the public?
They'll need a copy of that 2080.
Okay,
Yeah.
I forwarded it to you, but I'll forward
We
it.
did? Okay.
Yeah, yep, okay. Meeting adjourned, thanks everybody.
Thank you.